Hello and welcome to my first ever Monday vlog. That's right. This is my first Monday vlog, which will be exactly the same as all my other vlogs. Of course, other games and other movies. Today I am going to talk about, do a review of Crysis, which I have previously played on this channel, and I'm gonna talk about Vietnam movies. Now I know that Crysis and Vietnam movies has nothing to do with each other, but I thought Crysis is jungle warfare, and so was most of the Vietnam War. And I really haven't played any games that took place during the Vietnam War, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about the Vietnam movies because they're like a subgenre on their own. But first, let's get into first person mode. That's right, first person mode. When my storage facility of my soon to be X world, which I'll still keep this world, but when 1.7 comes out, I will make a new one. Anyway, Crysis. Like I said, I played this previously on my channel here, so you can go and watch my playthrough, complete playthrough of the game. Um, yeah, this is I like Crysis. It was an amazing first-person shooter. We had some. I like the. So basically, the story of the game was that some. I think it was North Korea actually. North Korean troops why is I moving extremely slow here? Oh, that's the current here. The North Koreans were like doing something on an island, and we were sent in, and it turned out to not only be the North Koreans but also aliens. And I was like a guy that had a. I think my squad in the game was trying out a prototype of a power armor that had different abilities. These different abilities was what made the game really interesting. Well, that and the fact that there isn't. At the time Crysis came out, there wasn't really that many jungle games. Crysis was one of the most demanding games out there, and it wasn't really because of the graphical engines, but because I think there was a bug that made the game run badly on smaller computers. But the graphics of the game was also amazing, and that was another thing that really made the game stand out. The the jungle, how detailed the leaves and stuff like that looked really awesome. And I have a yes, I do. And the powers itself, there were four different powers. There was the shield, which you basically used whenever you weren't using any of the others. My chicken, the sheep chicken. And then there was the power up, the strength one, which gave you superpower, which meant you could like punch real hard and lift heavy things and stuff like that. Then there was the super fast movement, which meant you could move super fast. Move away, sheep. Why did I only get? Oh, because I had. Okay. And then there was the one I used the most, which was the invisibility. I think I really didn't use any of the others except for, of course, for the shield, which would be basically turned on when you weren't using any of the others. Um, no, I thought I had a box for wool. Maybe I didn't. Wool can wait. Is this wool? This is wool. Okay, no. But yeah, so I mostly used the invisibility, which worked out really nice. The great weapons in the game, and I really enjoyed the game. It had some really nice graphics, some really beautiful environment, and there was a lot of animals. I enjoyed very much throwing chicken. You could pick up and throw almost everything. Watermelons was cool too, but throwing chickens was basically the most fun of the game. The game had some really nice physics, but the one thing that really lacked in the game was the driving. The driving was horrible. I think I was in a car like 2 or 3 times. Maybe it was because I just needed to learn it, but still, the driving, the part I felt was really bad. Where am I going? Um, another thing, and this I'm trying not to make any spoilers, but the ending was basically not that great. The last part of the game, most of the game took place on the island where you were, and pretty much and some alien spacecraft kind of thing, base maybe. But the last part took part on a ship, and that part really didn't do it for me. It became it was like the difficulty just like blew up all of a sudden, and that I didn't enjoy. So the last part of the game, that I think it was like a tenth, no, maybe 5%. The last 5% of the game, in my opinion, sucked. But other than that, great story, great gameplay. I would definitely recommend, if you haven't played Crysis, you should go ahead and do it. I haven't played any of the other the two sequels to the game, but I am going to do them. Maybe not for my channel, but I will play them at some point in life. Um, Now to the movies. I chose Vietnam movies because I really didn't know where else to fit it in. So, and Vietnam movies, like I said earlier, is a sub-genre in itself. Now, there's a lot of great Vietnam movies. We have like the Vietnam trilogy from Oliver Stone, which was Platoon, Born the 4th of July, and Heaven and Hell. I enjoyed most of them, and actually I enjoyed them in the order in which they were. Uh, I enjoyed them. How much I enjoyed them is similar to the order on how they were released. Platoon being the best of the three, then Born the 4th of July, and Heaven and Earth I really didn't like that much. Wonderful July was a great movie, but still not really that much. Platoon was, in fact, the best of those movies. Then we, of course, have The Deer Hunter, which is a classic Vietnam movie um, with Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken and John Savage. One of the most brutal ones, and was it was criticized by some for its graphic violence, and others criticized it for being inaccurate to how the Vietnam War really was. It was I can't remember who directed it. I think it was like Michael. No, I can't remember his name. Michael Sissimo, something like that. Really, the director who hasn't made that many movies. He made I can only remember that one, and he made Chinatown Bleeding. So not really a director who, I mean, that movie itself made that director famous. That was basically what made him famous. Then we have Full Metal Jacket from Stanley Kubrick, which of course is a classic and a really really brutal movie. Which half of the movie shows more of a how the, the training on the military base instead of actually, and then the other half they get into Vietnam, and it's a great, really great movie. Um, but I have to say my two favorite Vietnam movies is probably John Woo's Bullet in the Head, which is really I'm a big fan of John Woo, especially his older work back in Hong Kong. But and Bullet in the Head is one of the greatest war movies ever. It's not actually a war movie. The movie is about three friends from Hong Kong who one of them accidentally kills a guy, and they have to escape the country, escape from Hong Kong, and they go to Vietnam, which is basically a stupid place to go since there was a war, and and they get mixed up in a lot of shit in Vietnam, and it's a really graphic violence. That was what uh, John Woo was very well known for, especially back then. His American movies sucked, but Bullet in the Head with Tony Long, really, really great Hong Kong actor. But that was one of my favorite Vietnam movies. The other of my favorite Vietnam movies is probably Casualties of War with Sean Penn and Michael J. Fox. Not that well known. I think maybe well it's not it's known, but not as known and as famous as some of the other ones I mentioned. But the movie is about a small platoon of soldiers, including Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn, who what the hell? Wow, extreme lag. I couldn't move for a bit there. But yeah, the movie is about the small platoon who kidnap a girl from a Vietnamese camp and rape her, basically. And it's a very, very brutal movie. It shows. I'm not saying that all American soldiers did this, of course not, but there was a lot of unnecessary violence during the Vietnam War, including like, rapes and burning down of entire villages and stuff like that. I think a lot of the American soldiers misunderstood what the hell was going on. I mean, the entire war was a misunderstanding. The U.S. had no business being there in the first place, but that's a whole nother topic. Let's just say that the cause of war was based on a lie. But I think a lot of soldiers forgot who the enemy was because, I mean, to a lot of them, probably Vietnamese people were Vietnamese people and they didn't really. And I don't know. But there was a lot of shit going on. I'm not saying that all of it. But this movie, Casualties of War, shows a lot of how the behavior of some soldiers during the Vietnam War. And that is, in fact, also a lot of the soldiers who came back from Vietnam actually talked about how not only the horrors of the war, but the horrors of some of the other things happening. Now, of course, there's also Apocalypse Now, but to be honest, I've never seen the whole movie. I started watching it, but I never actually finished it, which is I know it's bad. I need to watch it, and I'm not saying the movie is bad, but it's wrong of me not to watch the entire movie. Um, I think that's all I have to say today. Yeah. So just to sum up, lots of great movies made about the Vietnam War. Uh, oh, just to mention one more, we have First Blood. Actually, two more. First Blood and Coming Home. Both of them is about soldiers coming back from the Vietnam War to a world that they don't fit in to anymore. And First Blood, being with Sylvester Stallone, was an amazing movie. A lot of people are thinking it when they think of it, it's just thinking mindless action, but there was really a story about in the movie, and was about a soldier coming home from the war and being treated like shit by Brian Dennehy's character. And it's an amazing movie. Then they made First Blood 2 and 3, and Rambo. Well, First Blood 2 and Rambo 3, which doesn't make sense because there was never a movie called Rambo 2. And then they made John Rambo. And none of them really was great movies. But First Blood, the First Blood was amazing. Then we have Coming Home, which was also about a Vietnam veteran played by John Voight, who now only do shit. I mean, have you seen some of the things John Voight is in nowadays? He was in the Bratz movie, for God's sake, and Super Babies. Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, but Coming Home is an amazing movie about learning to live with a handicap. He's in a wheelchair because of the war, and learning to live with yourself after the war and stuff like that. And it's a really amazing movie. That's actually also one of my favorite Vietnam movies. So my favorite of the Vietnam movies I mentioned is Casualties of War, Bullet in the Head, and Coming Home. And I'm not saying the other ones aren't great. They are. Don't get me wrong. And then we talked of course about Crysis, which is a great game, and I highly recommend it. And I think that's all for now. I know that I'm actually just walking around doing nothing, but when the new update comes, I will be getting more into building and stuff like that again. So we'll have some more to do. But yeah, I hope you got inspired for some movies, and maybe if you haven't played Crysis, then I would suggest you go ahead and do it. Also, finally, I'd like to say that you should go look at my IMDb movie list. It has a lot of interesting movies recommendations. It's basically my favorite movies, and I just today actually updated the list, put in I think 30 more movies or so, and I'll do that once in a while. So go check that out. Maybe you'll have some inspiration for some movies. A lot of the ones I've already talked about on in this video and other videos are on the list, and some other videos as well. And I'm gonna end it now because I could probably just keep on talking forever, but I don't actually want to do that. So I'll see you Wednesday for more vlog, and I'll see you tomorrow for more gaming. Bye.